Hi, it's episode 410 of the official podcast. It's your usual crew minus one. It's me, Kaya. We have Jackson, and fan favorite Doug is back to replace Andrew, who's currently in hiding from Hurricane Milton, which is in the process of or about to clobber Tampa, I believe. So he decided he doesn't want to hang out in Tampa for that. We're recording on, what day is today? 9th of October, roughly 10 p.m. Local time in Tampa.
I think the hurricane is just making landfall now. We've got like security cameras up on our screens watching the cataclysm unfold. It honestly doesn't look as bad as I was imagining yet, but I imagine that'll change somewhat quickly.
No floating corpses.
That's usually how it happens.
Well, for those of you who aren't,
we just see Andrew. We just see Andrew float past on one of the cameras. So that's where he got up to. No, he's out of state. He's safe. I think he fled to Alaska is what he last told me. So he's getting as far away as possible. He's as safe as can be, which is good.
So those of you not paying attention to national news in the US, or maybe you're international and you just don't give a fuck about the US has been getting clobbered by a bunch of hurricanes lately. Milton is the latest. Before that, it got hit by Helene. How do you say it?
Helene?
Yeah, anyway, North Carolina got swept away. And I thought, a deja vu. Don't I know somebody who had his life flushed by a hurricane? And I figured, you know what? Now that it's just the three of us and it's our show again, I can invite Doug back. So welcome, Doug. People have been asking for you for a long-ass fucking time.
I, for one, thought that I would never be back on here again. I'm confused as to why, but I guess we don't have to get into that.
Don't you notice a difference?
Look at us. Here we are. So.
Hey, you made it. You're back to the big leagues, Doug. Actually, wait. Just real quick, Doug, you do Who's Right. You do a show, yes. a competing podcast, let's say. You've been doing it for as long as we've known you, right? Even before you first appeared on any episodes of the official podcast. How is that going? Have you been growing steadily? Are you in the big leagues yet?
I think that depends on what the big leagues are. We make over $100 a month. So if that is the case, then yes, we are in the big leagues.
You are in the big leagues. That's respectable. Hey, making any kind of money from it, if it's just like a hobby kind of thing, making any kind of money from it is big league stuff. So good shit. Yeah, no, that's cool. It has been a minute though.
It has been, yeah. Probably way over a year. I don't know if Anthony was even on with you last time. But anyway, we got you back. Like I said, I saw everybody getting fucked over by these hurricanes and all the rainfall, and the government doesn't really seem to be doing a good job. So I figured, why not get Doug on to get the inside scoop on what it's like to lose your entire belongings in a stupid fucking hurricane. So yeah, get some perspective and maybe add some levity to people going through this tough time. And I hope all of our listeners are safe in Tampa. I hope you're the sole survivors, actually. So, Doug,
how do you feel about the haters? Is it just our fans that they're the only ones allowed to survive?
The haters, I'm okay if they get like pneumonia, but live. Just a little mild punishment because I'm magnanimous like that. Doug, weren't you also in North Carolina?
Yeah, I lived in a city called New Bern, North Carolina. It's considered Eastern North Carolina. But it was I was probably an hour and a half from the coast. So I didn't live right on the coast. We didn't anticipate any flooding.
Wait, is North Carolina a coast state? I thought it was more inland.
No, it's right on the ocean. Yeah.
Oh, it is. Like, okay.
So hold on, to give some backstory. What year was this? And what hurricane?
2018 Hurricane Florence.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah.
So do you remember when after the hurricane, they had that interview with Donald Trump and he was on the news and behind him was a yacht in somebody's yard and he made an offhanded comment like, well, the good news is you got a boat out of the deal. Do you remember that?
No, but that doesn't sound like him.
So that was about 2 blocks from my house, or where my house was.
So I assume you didn't get a boat.
That you didn't get a free yacht? Yeah.
What's that, Jackson?
What did you get?
I said, were you upset that you didn't get a free yacht from it? Jealous of your neighbor?
No, it was, it was. So I don't know how much of this do you want to hear? Do you want to hear what the whole ordeal of what it's like to evacuate?
All the excruciating details. I want to hear you break down in tears and recollecting it in your PTSD stricken
give us
grief.
like a
I want to hear everything.
Story of you opening the TV up and it's saying there's gonna be rainfall in 3 days, so evacuate. Where were you that day, Doug?
So realistic, a more realistic version of it is during hurricane season, when you live in that part of the country, you are always hearing about impending doom. I think I was in North Carolina for about 3 years, and I want to say there was at least a dozen times where we would get a hurricane warning, evacuation suggested type of thing. So this particular one, I worked about an hour away from where I lived. So I stopped at a Walmart and I was none the wiser. Like I had started just disregarding all hurricane shit. Like I'm seasoned to this part of the country now. I'm a veteran. I'm no longer a Yankee. Yeah. So fuck these hurricanes. I'm going to ride it out and it's just going to be some rain or whatever the fuck it is. So I stop at Walmart to pick up some groceries and shit, just like a normal, it wasn't to get supplies. It was just to stop at Walmart. And there is nothing on the fucking shelves. There's nothing anywhere. People are carting out these massive carts filled with bottled water. And I'm walking in and it still hasn't registered to me what is going on. I walk in and I'm like, what's going on? I don't understand what's going on. And it's like just mass panic. Everybody's like screaming and grabbing all the toilet paper and grabbing anything that they can buy in bulk to
so you were just there to get like Doritos or something?
Yeah,
some chips
basically,
and
frozen pizza and some ice cream, probably a 12-pack of pop, and everybody's running around in a fucking panic. So I start piecing everything together, and I'm like, well, fuck, maybe we're going to lose power or something, so I should probably get some supplies. So I think I got like 4 cans of soup and a case of bottled water. That was my hurricane supplies.
You're quite the prepper.
Well prepared. What a lunatic.
All right, so I make the rest of the trip home, and I start noticing. I don't remember that house being abandoned. Why is that house windows boarded up? And I get home, and
how is it still not setting in? Like, surely you would have. You would have known when you saw people like doing the shit at the grocery stores that this is probably like a big hurricane or something, and you're still piecing it together on the way home.
But like I said,
zombies running around.
It's something you hear 10 times a season. You always hear about it.
Yeah, but surely you don't. Do you see that? Do you see the grocery store thing happen every single time though? Like.
Yeah, people panic. New. People panic, though. I mean, if it's a boy cried wolf situation, I also turn off my, those like national alerts thingies you get on your phone. I have them all turned off. I wouldn't know if a nuke was headed our way.
So, like the people that live in North Carolina, when they hear of a hurricane coming, they have what they call hurricane parties, where they all get together at somebody's house, buy a bunch of alcohol, and wait for it to show up. Like that is not an uncommon thing.
Yeah, no, I get it, and I've heard that as well. Like people from these hurricane states say that like outsiders, people from outside those states, always talk a big deal about how this hurricane is going to be the one. So I get that there's, like Kai said, like a boy who cried wolf kind of situation going on, but I feel like with all the people at the grocery store like taking everything, like you said, that should have been an indicator that this one was a big one, because even the people in the state were taking it more seriously, right?
So, okay, when I left the grocery store, I was starting to piece things together. By the time I seen the 16th house with the windows boarded up, I started having some growing concern. So by the time I get home, I start looking through news and shit, trying to figure out what's going on, and they had called for an evacuation. And, I told my wife, I'm like, we should probably get the fuck out of here. It's starting to get, I'm starting to get a little worried. Like they're telling you, if you don't leave, you're going to die. And
your wife wanted to have a hurricane party instead. She was inviting all the friends over. You were going to host a hurricane party dinner.
No,
it was like a whole big thing.
Not at all. So what it was is we decided to wait and see if the hurricane was going to change paths in the morning. And if it didn't, because you have, days of notice, right? It's not like it's a tornado that just shows up in the middle of the night.
I was gonna ask like how far in advance was this conversation at night?
So this would have been, let's say that this conversation was Wednesday. We evacuated Thursday. Okay, but that's getting ahead of it. So the thing that you have to remember when you live in that area, you hear you need to evacuate, and then 12 hours later, the hurricane is starting to change course, and it just rides up the coast and doesn't do anything, or does minimal damage.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've evacuated for no reason.
So you hear that enough times, and then you just have it in your head like, okay, this is just going to be another one of those. All right, so morning came, and it looked like impending doom. So we decided we've got to get out of here. And our daughter was going to school further inland in Greensboro, North Carolina. So we called her and said, "Hey, we're going to pick you up. They're calling for mass flooding and shit. We have no idea how far this is going to go. We've never experienced anything like this. So we're going to pick you up, and then we're just going to continue driving." So I told my wife, grab all your clothes or whatever clothes you want to take, and we'll grab all the pictures. And then we each grab a box of our personal belongings because we still had to pick up our daughter and we only had so much room in the car.
Needed room. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that morning I grabbed what it was that I wanted to save, plus our pictures, plus clothes. Wife did the same thing, went and picked up our daughter.
What did you grab?
And then
what was in your box?
I grabbed a kite that my dad gave me when I was a kid, a book called there's a monster at the end of this book that my great grandma had given me, and an Indianapolis 500 jacket that my mom had given me as a kid.
Aw.
So all things of like extreme sentimental value. Yeah.
Okay, so me and my little gay box got in the car with my wife, and
yeah, what a loser! Liking fucking shit that his parents gave him and stuff like that. Loser. You should have taken porno mags, just a box full of porno mags.
Your case of water,
Hustlers and penthouses.
So we started driving inland, and we didn't really know where we were going to go, and I had no idea how far to evacuate. Like, I was just going to keep driving west till I hit California. Like, I wanted to get it as far away from this as possible. So, of course, we pick up our daughter, and then we're all piled in the car, and then we're just driving. And we'd probably driven for, we'll say 4 or 5 hours. And my wife is like, I think we're probably good now. Like, at this point, we're in the mountain. We went up past the mountains in North Carolina and back down the other side of the mountains. And I'm like, we're still fucking going. Like, I have no idea what we're in for, but
this
I'm getting the fuck away from
me. It's gonna track you down like you owed it money or something.
If what Kaya just said, like Asheville, North Carolina, that got wiped out. That's Appalachia, right? There's mountains around there. Yeah. It's like they were far enough in that you wouldn't have thought that they would have had any flooding.
Well, that was the issue, right? I was talking to a friend about this last night. Isaiah from Red Thread. He grew up in Appalachia, those mountains and stuff, and he said that was the issue. Like, the mountains form a basin basically at the bottom, so all the runoff. These mountains aren't used to this kind of rainfall, so all the hurricane rain pulls up down the bottom and creates like landslides and stuff like that. And that's the main issue. It's not the wind usually. It's like just all the raw amount of water running down the mountains that pulls up and just creates these enormous landslides and stuff. So nowhere is safe from hurricanes. And like you said, the effects can be felt like super far inland. So yeah, you probably were right to just keep driving.
So if you were to look at a map of New Bern, North Carolina, you would see that there's an inlet coming from the ocean that feeds all the way to that city. Okay. But like I said, it's like an hour and a half away. So we thought we were good. It just so happened that the hurricane came in, and the inlet side of the hurricane was pushing the water from the ocean into that inlet. Like if it had been,
that's storm surges, right?
Yeah, if it had just been south, say half the width of the hurricane, then it would have taken all that water and sucked it out, and we never would have experienced anything. But anyway, okay. So we end up in Virginia, and that's where we decided to. We've made our trip. We're good now. We're safe. I don't know if you've ever been to Virginia, but it's. Let's see. We stopped and got a hotel. And we went into Walmart, and my daughter said, "Dad, why does everybody here look exactly the same? Like everybody walking around had the same eye spacing, the same underbite, everything. Everybody looked exactly the same."
Same.
Is it the incest state or something? Like, is that kind of the label that it has?
Yeah.
I thought Virginia was like the nicest state. Like, isn't that where the president, like the White House and shit is? Well, that's Washington D.C., but like, isn't that in Virginia?
So no, Washington D.C. is its own thing, but it's right next to Virginia. Yes, there are some really nice places in Virginia, but that's not where I was at. I was in the place of Virginia that's really close to West Virginia. All right, so
you didn't do some research and try to avoid the incest place. Like you didn't look up the Google reviews. 1 star, too much incest.
So the thing that is going to be a reoccurring theme through this entire story is lack of places to sleep. So even when we did want to stop, there were no vacancies because everybody that evacuated before us already got the spots.
Right.
Oh, okay. So we ended up somewhere in Virginia, went to sleep, woke up, watched the news for a bit. It was depressing. Decided we were going to go explore. We ended up at this place called the Big Walker Lookout. And I would suggest you look it up because it's important to the story. What it is it's like 100-foot tower that's on the side of a mountain. And
in Virginia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So
like a Firewatch kind of thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, except you can go inside the gift shop and pay $15 to go up to the top of it and take pictures or whatever. So my wife didn't want to go. It was me and my daughter. And I decided I was going to be a good father and take her up to the top of this tower. So if you were to look at the tower, I think there's 20 sets of stairs.
Yeah, I was about to say, fuck this. It doesn't even look fun. It's not even like a pretty tower or anything.
Well, the view, well, no, the tower looks shit, but the view looks nice. Like you see the entire range.
Yeah, true. I guess, yeah. But like you wouldn't know that from just looking at it from down below. Just a bunch of girders, like a construction thing.
Yeah, the important part of the story, Kaya, isn't the color scheme of the tower. It's itself. When you get to the top because you're right on the edge of a mountain. So you're the height of the tower plus the height of the mountain. It's like a straight down shot.
Yeah, you see an enormous panoramic shot of the environment. Looks nice.
Okay, so I do have some pictures that I took at about 50 feet up, which is as high as I fucking made it. Because
so halfway.
Yeah, so I was walking up first, and my daughter was right behind me, and I was like the first level. Like I said, there's 20 levels. You walk up a flight, walk up another flight, now you're 10 feet up. Walk up a flight, walk up another flight, now you're 20 feet up. So at the very top, you're at the top of a 100-foot tower. All right, so I made it up, say, one story, and I looked back at my daughter. I said, "You okay?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "All right, let's go." And we do another one. And I said, "Are you okay?" "I don't know. I'm a little scared." And I'm afraid of heights. So as we go up, the tower moves more than, when you're at the top, I would assume that it's just swinging back and forth like you're on top of a.
Yeah. Wait, you did this with the fear of heights?
Yeah. I mean, my daughter wanted to go and I didn't want her to know that I'm a big pussy.
Well, she knew halfway up, I'm assuming. Continue.
I'll get to that. I mean, I went bungee jumping too, being afraid of heights. Just, I thought that would help.
Oh, wow.
Didn't. Anyway.
Yeah,
okay.
help.
So we're about at, to say, the 40% mark. And it's starting to get really hard for me to continue on. Like I started getting vertigo, started getting more and more nervous. And now I'm trying to subtly
you get
talk
like dizzy.
her.
You get dizzy with vertigo, right? Like it feels like you're going to fall down.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to subtly nudge her into chickening out so that I can walk her down like a good dad.
Be the bigger man.
And act disappointed that we didn't get to finish the trek.
Yeah, you can walk down scolding her instead, like, oh, you're such a pussy. You didn't even want to climb the tower. What a coward.
You owe me $15.
Yeah, like pouting the entire way home, even though she just saved your life, basically.
So, I turn around. I turn around at 40% and I say, you still want to go on? And she's like, I'm scared, but yeah, we'll go on. And I said, okay. And then I turn around and go, fuck. So we go up another flight. And by that time, like you can really feel the tower moving. And I know that she knew that I was as scared as she was. And I think she did it to allow me to save face, but she said, I don't want to go up anymore. And she didn't even finish her sentence. And I'm like, all right, let's go down then. That's fine. Whatever. But yeah. So
was it scarier going up or down? I feel like there would be just as much tension going down because you're actually like kind of looking down. You can see the height.
I suppose you could if you had your eyes open. I wouldn't know.
Oh, okay. Your daughter looks back at you. Your eyes are like tight shut. Misty. Tears are streaming down your face, and you're still pretending like you're the bigger man. She did it for herself.
I was just holding on to her hoodie. Just let me know when we're at the bottom, honey.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's good. We can go now. That's fine.
All right. So
I mean, if you want,
I would. Right.
When you're out and about, the last thing you want is your underwear making every step painful. That's why I personally have a rule. Whatever is touching my nuts has to be touching them with care and love, and that's what MeUndies is all about. They're the perfect underwear for guys, they're beyond comfortable, and they're designed to be as breathable and wearable as possible. You'll forget you're even wearing them, which is the sign, using my rule, of a good pair of undies. Their ball caddy, for example, it's a pouch design in their underwear that makes it so that your balls will never spread apart again unnaturally. Jesus Christ, that's an awful image. I hate that image. But it'll never happen again with MeUndies, which is perfect. Obviously, no one wants what I just said to happen to them. I, honest to God, wear my MeUndies all the time. My drawer is just stocked full of them. I genuinely do stand by their comfort, and their price is affordable, and they are filled to the brim with different designs and looks. It all makes MeUndies a no-brainer and an easy recommendation. They've also got an awesome lounge collection for things like joggers, hoodies, and onesies. So I highly recommend checking them out. Buy a couple pairs for yourself and enjoy feeling the comfort of MeUndies. Get 20% off your first order plus free shipping when you go to MeUndies.com/officialpod and use promo code officialpod. That's MeUndies.com/officialpod, promo code officialpod to get 20% off plus free shipping. Links below, it's all below so you can easily find it. Go check them out though, they are very comfortable underwear. I love them. MeUndies, comfort from the outside in. And now, back to the show.
I would say that I don't recall exactly, I want to say it was 3 or 4 days just hanging out in this one hotel, watching the news. There were a lot of news reports coming out of New Bern showing the flooding. At one point, they had a shot of our street, and you could only see about 3 foot of the top of the street sign. And, like right then it starts sinking in like, oh, we're fucked. Like, this sucks.
Yeah, the house is gone. Everything's gone.
So there was I want to say it was a Facebook group where we were getting all of our information from. And as the water started receding, we start making plans to start heading back. And we catch wind that as of right now, the water has receded enough that there's no issue, but the National Guard still has the area surrounded. They're not allowing anybody in.
Yep.
That's funny. All right. Anyway.
Sorry, didn't you also have a bunch of dogs or?
No. So about a month before this is when we lost that pit bull to cancer. I would say maybe 2 months before the hurricane. And then we hadn't picked up the 5 dogs that we have now yet. So we were dogless at that time.
Okay.
I would assume that you're not the kind of person who would just leave the dogs behind, right? I've seen that a lot in the current Florida hurricane, like people actually leaving like evacuating and leaving their pets at the home. Like that's fucked up in my
There's
opinion.
zero chance that would happen with me.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so
No.
To that question, like I said, we had lost our dog to cancer about 2 months prior to that, and I couldn't get myself to pick up her water bowl or food bowl, so it was just still there in the kitchen when we'd left, which will be important when we come back. Okay, so we finally hear in the Facebook group that the National Guard is allowing people back, and the reason why they had cordoned everything off is to stop the looting, which so they'd set up like a perimeter around whatever 7 or 8 blocks, whatever it was, where the worst was affected, and all roads had checkpoints where you had to show proof of residence. Okay, so coming into town, you start seeing, it's hard to explain because this water comes up. I don't know how much wind damage there was. Of course, there's tree limbs and stuff, but the water raises everything up and then it moves wherever it wants, and then the water recedes and it just drops it right there, which is why you see a boat in a yard or garbage cans everywhere. You know what I mean? Like anything that can float is land somewhere else.
Lands.
How does it smell?
So
Isn't it a bunch of sewage everywhere?
Yeah, because it's not just ocean water that's coming up. It's everything, sewer, everything.
It's all the water from the sewers. Yeah, it's everything, groundwater.
So we pull up to our house, and I had like a swing and some lawn furniture and stuff out in the yard that I had tied to a tree before we left, and it looked relatively. It was tipped over, but it didn't register in my head that I'm like, well, maybe we didn't get hit because our house looks the same. And then you walk up to the house, and I got about a foot from the front door, and I stopped and I looked, and there was about 3.5, 4 feet from ground level. You could see the water line. You could see how high the water had gotten. And then when it receded,
like a black line, right? Against the.
And so all I can say is, and I'd love to put a funny spin on this. There is no feeling in the world like opening that door, because you have to remember there's no power. It's North Carolina, so it's hot. So all that sewage water seeps into your house, and then the water leaves, but the shit stays. The animals stay. The bugs stay. It had been cooking.
Hey, you made it funny for Kai. You put a funny spin on it for Kai. He's loving this.
Your house essentially gets turned into like a shit oven because everything's sealed up. It's hot and it just sits there and bakes. So you open up the door, and it's like somebody came into your house and smeared mold and shit and just the nastiest thing that you can think of all over everything, picked everything up, knocked everything over, just destroyed your house without stealing anything. That's what it's like. So
what exactly are they protecting from looting? Like if everything is soaked in shit and broken, like what would a looter even steal?
Department stores. I mean,
but
not
like
everything
in the residential
is ruined by
area,
the water.
Yeah.
Well, no, you didn't say they were protecting the residential areas, right? I'm assuming they were protecting.
It was residential areas and any house that had a second story. So, like the house that the house that we had 2 levels that were about. It wasn't a full second story high. Okay, it was an addition built onto the back of the house that was up, say, 6 feet higher than the rest of the house. So we took whatever we could fit and put it up. Like we had just bought a new living room set, and I got most of that up there. Our bedroom was up there, and my daughter's bedroom was up there. Like I said, she was in college, so most of her shit was gone, irrelevant. So you open up the house, and like you can just see destruction. Even if something didn't get flooded, all that humidity in the house with all the heat caused it to get moldy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would imagine it like gets braised basically, right? Like even in the little area that you made, it would still soak in all the fumes.
It would be marinated.
Right.
Marinated in all the flavors of the storm.
Like a sauna. A shit sauna.
So, you walk in and all I can say, heartbroken. I can't think of another word at that moment walking in other than like, I understand it's just material shit and yeah, everybody's fine, whatever. I get it. But everything you've ever worked for is now gone, right? And you're sitting there looking at, well, you know what? This didn't get any water on it. And then you look at the back of it and it's just black, it's got mold everywhere. There was like a curio cabinet that my wife had gotten from her great grandma. And it didn't matter what was on that. We had to save it. She wasn't going to let it go. So things like that, there's nothing you can do. You can't argue with her.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So
I mean, did you manage to save it?
Did you end up saving it? Yeah. Did you save it?
yeah, I did. It
Good.
I sanded it and restained it and did everything that I could do. I mean, I think if you were to look closely at it, you could see that there was still water damage at some point,
but that's history now. Like when you pass it down or whatever, now it's got even more history. It's at least it still exists, right? That's kind of a silver lining to that story.
Soaked in poo.
Even though it's been baked in
Makes it special.
shit.
Yeah.
So let's say that the first day back was just kind of taking inventory of everything and realizing we're fucked. Again, keeping in mind that there's no power. So you're working with flashlights, you got headlamps on, kind of looking around and seeing if anything can be saved. By this time, all these crews of contractors and electrical companies and everybody have swarmed the area, most of them trying to help, but a lot of them going door to door saying that they can do your repairs for $600 if you give them half the money right now, that type of shit. Which means there are no hotels available between the people that were displaced and already got a hotel and all of these fucking contractors everywhere. When you're done working for the day, you have to drive an hour and a half away to have a place to sleep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
don't they set up shelters and stuff?
sense.
Like I've heard in this current hurricane, there's like shelters open on every corner, basically.
I'm sure they did. I don't know of any, and I know I wouldn't have stayed in one anyway.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
All right. So what it turned into was day after day of you drive an hour and a half away, get cleaned up, you take a shower, eat supper, go to sleep, and then you drive an hour and a half back, and then you spend all day out in the heat taking your belongings and piling it up on the side of the road. It's just like a thing that everybody knows to do. You have a free-for-all of throwing away whatever you want after a hurricane on the side of the road, and some poor bastard's going to come by and pick it up eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when it becomes, I would say, emotionally damaging. At least for me, it was. That's
Yeah, by this point, the hurricane party is over. It's now the after party. It's depressing.
Right. Yeah, it's the hangover.
Yeah, it's awful.
So, like, I got to a point where I'm making it sound more whatever. I just didn't care anymore. I didn't care if we saved anything. I didn't care if we threw anything away. I didn't care if I stayed married. I didn't care about anything. I was just emotionally done. I had checked out.
Drained.
So you start finding yourself in a situation where you've just thrown away, let's say you've spent 6 hours dragging all this shit out, covered in other people's shit and bugs and the heat and the sweat and fat, everything. You're just covered in everything. And then you come across something that let's say it has no mold. It's made of metal. It's something that meant something to you at one point or another. You don't care. You don't care. Like, I don't want to, I'm just throwing it away. I don't care. Like, I'm broken right now. So then we had both hit that point. Like, we started arguing with each other, of course, because high stress situation and neither one of us deal with it well. So we're arguing and we're throwing away each other's shit to be spiteful. Just like it's just a recipe for a fucking bad time.
You're doing more damage now than the hurricane did. You're throwing away perfectly good things.
Taking a shit on them yourself.
Yeah. I would say it was about like day 3 of throwing away all of our shit. And because you have to remember, like, it's not like there's shit in boxes. You just grab a box and throw it out. Everything is soggy and moldy, and you have to watch out for snakes. You're in the dark for the most part. It's probably 100 and I would say humidity. It's as high humidity as you can get. It's just fucking miserable. Okay. So let's say day 3 was my birthday. Okay. So on my birthday, I'm on day 3 or day 4 of this miserable existence that I'm experiencing. And
wait, this isn't a metaphor. It was actually your birthday. I'm a bit lost right now. It's actually your.
Yeah, it was my birthday.
Oh my fucking god! How did you not yourself? I'm sorry, but like how?
So I'm on
this couldn't get any worse.
Say like my 50th trip of throwing away anything that I've ever collected, and I had already dragged. At that point, I had a woodworking shop out in the back, and I just took everything and threw it away. Threw away my table saw, threw away all my power tools, everything, just because of the mold and shit. So I'm hot, I'm sweaty, I'm miserable, I'm pissed, arguing with my wife. I walk out the front door and my daughter shoots a glitter gun in my face and starts singing happy birthday. And this glitter sticks to the side of my face. Like nothing hit the ground. It all just stuck to the shit and the sweat and the disgustingness. And she has a picture because she took a picture of it right when the glitter thing went off. And I look like a fucking serial killer. I'm looking at her like I'm going to throttle you. It was, I wish I was more articulate. I just can't explain how devastated I was in that moment with the glitter sticking to my face.
Did she have fun?
I'm assuming she maybe found more fun and enjoyment in the whole thing than you did after you guys lost everything. Like the parents, the adults in the situation lost everything. She was probably having more fun with it, right?
So I was really trying to keep her away from the misery of what was happening. So her and her boyfriend, I'd send them off to go to the store or go buy sandwiches or just go hang out at his house. Just do whatever. I don't want her to see me like this or her mom like this. And then, throwing away all these things that we've had her entire life. I just didn't want her to experience it. So I don't think she knew what she was walking into when she shot that glitter thing at me. But yeah, so by that time, I think that I want to say it was about day 5. I just said, fuck it. Like, I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm done. I'm done. I was working, like I said, about an hour away from there. And they were really pressuring for me to come back to work. And I was very clear with them, like, I've got shit I've got to handle here, and then I'll come back. So they offered to put us up. So we got like a furnished house for 30 days while we could look for another house so I could get back to work. So at that point, we kind of just walked away from trying to save anything else. We had gotten a U-Haul and were able to save like one of the small U-Hauls. like I said, we saved a curio cabinet.
How did you get a new place after that? I might be jumping ahead here, but I'm interested. Like, I'm assuming you had like home insurance or something that covered it, and then you were able to buy a new house or something. Like, how does that work?
No. So what had happened was, like I said, we were an hour and a half inland, so we didn't have flood insurance. That place hadn't flooded in like 20 years. So because we didn't have flood insurance, we didn't get anything from insurance at all.
Awesome.
But so one, I had a fairly good job. So we had a little bit of money in the account, I guess. And my work, the place that I was working gave me a chunk of money as a get back on your feet, get back to work, which was nice. We got some money from the Red Cross, and there was a GoFundMe set up on my behalf. So all of that accumulated, we were able to go get another house, and we just rented a house at that point.
How much did the GoFundMe make you?
It was maybe a couple $1,000s.
That's good.
That's nice.
Just from local friends and family, I'm assuming.
No, it was through somebody that listened to the podcast.
Aww.
Oh, this was wait, when did this happen? 2018?
Yeah, we started our podcast in 2017.
Oh, wow. Okay, I thought this was before the podcast. Gotcha. Okay.
It's worth mentioning you did the podcast then for like a year roughly, right? Already had been doing it. And how much money did Anthony give you?
He gave me $0.
Good friend.
I may have brought it up a time or two since 2018.
I know. Okay, so the Red Cross, how much, like, was it just like charity money, or how does that work? Was that FEMA money, or what is it?
I want to say that it was, I don't remember. I know that the deposit came from the Red Cross, but I don't know if the two were related. I know that I signed up for it. You know, I had to put in my address, and then because of my address, it shows that you're affected, all that shit. But I want to say that took like maybe 2 weeks from the time that we got back to when the money hit the account.
How much was it?
I was going to say it was minimal. Let's say it was somewhere between $1,200 and $1,500, something like that.
Okay,
it's nothing.
So
nothing in comparison to what you lost. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, in all fairness, I'm not complaining about it. I needed it, and it definitely helped when you're living out of hotels at that point, and because you're living out of hotels, then food's more expensive because you're going out to eat, and on top of you have just lost everything. So once we got a new house, we still need to buy new furniture and all like imagine the first time you moved out, not having anything. You just show up to your empty house like, okay, we're here. Let's fill it up with shit.
Yeah.
So it helped. I'm not shit talking at all. The funny thing is about 2 months later, so we had started building up some money in the account again. I was back to work. Everything was good. We had bought all new furniture, moving on. And then I get an email that says, there's been more money allotted to Hurricane Florence victims. Were you affected? Yes. What was your address? Put it in. And then it gives you, it was like $3,500 now shows up like several months later.
That's nice.
As a prize. Yeah, that was a prize. You can go buy Doritos and stuff now.
So what was the first thing you bought again? Was there anything you immediately replaced?
He's probably in survival mode. Like buying
TV,
food and stuff
lazy
is
boy.
Priority, I would assume. Yeah, sure.
No, bed, actually.
Yeah, bed makes sense.
That makes sense.
What were you expecting? A Cookie Monster statue.
An arcade machine. One of those arcade cabinet things. Yeah, Pac-Man. I was talking to again, Isaiah, who was up in Appalachia. I forget what the fucking state is called, but that area that was affected most recently by Hurricane Helene. And he said one of the most surprising things was that the storm water, like the water that covered the inside of your house and stuff, Doug, one of the most contaminated aspects of it was the fact that like cemeteries are obviously opened up and ruined by the flooding and the hurricane and stuff. So there are literal like 100-year-old dead bodies in coffins in that water. That's like part of the reason why it is so disgusting and like contaminated and dangerous. And then I think about all the people like the TikTokers, let's say, or the young people that go out into the water and like splash around and like surf, like boogie board on it and like roll around in it after the hurricane. I see that a lot in like flood situations where people like fuck around with the flood water. And all I can think about is all the dangerous shit below it. Like you don't know if there's like exposed power lines and stuff, but also like dead bodies and things like that have been like pushed up from the floodwater.
It could be
as a germaphobe, I couldn't imagine anything worse. And knowing that that's all in your house as well, and like permanently contaminated it. I don't know. I think the only option really is to like start fresh right after that kind of damage.
There could be money made though. You guys remember the cam girl who was selling her ass bath water? Like imagine if you just went around chasing hurricanes and you bottle the water from each of the cemeteries each time. And just like put them in an online shop. Here's Florence.
You want to buy your parents back?
Yeah. The whole town's DNA in one jar.
I'm not sure that's the same audience, Kai. People are buying her bathwater because she's a hot, alive woman, and the water's touched her ass crack or whatever. They're not going to buy cemetery dirt water.
Some of those dead people have got to be hot,
Oh, yeah,
Some
they were
girl who got in a car
150
crash.
years ago.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. Anyway, Doug, that is a very tragic story. How long did it take you to bounce back entirely? Like, at what point did the effects of the hurricane feel like just a distant memory?
I'd love to give you a cool guy answer, but realistically, I would say it's probably something I'll carry with me forever.
That was depressing. I wish I never asked that.
Well, the thing that I found, I understand it's just possessions and I get it. But I've now done the opposite where it's like I want to accumulate everything. It's like I'm still trying to.
Oh, it's turned you into a hoarder?
Not quite a hoarder, but close. I mean, it's like I'm trying to fill a part that was removed, if that makes sense.
Taken. Yeah. That does make sense. But I also, like, what's this whole, they're just possessions thing? Is that something you hear often? Because they're not just possessions. Like you said, there were significant things of sentimental value. Like, objects do have meaning to people. It's not like, things were just lost that had no meaning to you. There were actual things that you spent your hard-earned money on, obviously. So it's literal work hours of your life being torn away by the hurricane.
Right.
Think about it like that.
When you compare, like if I'm sitting in a coffee shop with somebody and he's telling me about how he lost his wife and his daughter.
God damn it.
And then I'm like, and I lost a dresser. So I know what you're going through, man.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess now. Yes. Comparatively to people who have lost more. Yes. It could seem a tad insensitive maybe, but I mean, it's all relative, right? Like you still lost everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of crazy.
Plus, I don't like that sort of like one-upsmanship. Like, oh, I lost more than you. Great.
The people in Asheville in this last go around with it, like they had it way worse than we had. They didn't even have a house to go back and try to save anything. Like their shit's just gone.
Yeah.
I mean, were you able to save anything besides that one cabinet your wife wanted to save?
I would say we probably ended up saving, if I had to put a percentage on it, I would say maybe 5% of our possessions. Just things that we couldn't replace,
Okay, so now here's a new question. You evacuated, you did what the government recommended, let's say. do you think you would have been able to save more than 5% if you didn't evacuate and you stood there trying to ward off the hurricane like a lunatic? Like, I don't understand why people hunker down. What is the point? Like, why are you hunkering down in an evacuation zone? Like, if like, what are you going to necessarily do to defend your house against a hurricane?
Okay, so
like, what do you do?
In my case, had I decided we're going to stay here and we're going to fight Mother Nature. All right, so
yeah, exactly.
For the what would have turned out to be from the time that the water started rising till the time that the National Guard let us in, I want to say it was roughly 10 days, maybe, give or take, which means that I would have been stuck on that small second story of my house with a bottle of water and 4 cans of soup. So there would have been
run out of water. Let's be honest. You've got water everywhere. Yeah, water's the least of your concerns.
Shit water.
You could drink the shit water. It's fine. As long as
you just told me you wouldn't even dip your toe in it. There's no way I'm drinking it.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Hey, I would evacuate at the slightest mention. I'm talking about like the lunatics that actually, well, obviously irrationality happens in extreme circumstances, but it's like, it is lunacy to me that people actually stay in these, evacuation zones where the government's like, yo, get out, you're going to die if you stay or whatever. Like, I just don't understand the benefit to staying. Like, what, even if I was like just broadly in the area, I'd probably just, err on the side of caution and leave. You can call me a pussy if you want. But like, I just don't understand what I'm going to do at the house that would protect it, let's say, or make a difference. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to go downstairs with a pan and like, siphon the water that's like
throw it out the window,
encroaching in. Yeah, throw it out the window where it'll just come straight back in. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing actually?
Okay,
I
so
guess you could lose.
You're just sitting there.
You stay behind and put on
your own house
and go.
You're stuck on the second floor with Doug. Like, what are you going to do?
No,
Jackson, so the thing that you don't know is, are you going to flood and get an inch of water that you could theoretically use a wet dry vac and save any damage or minimize the damage? Or are you going to get 3.5, 4 feet of water in your house? You don't know that.
Yeah, you don't know. So why are you like gambling? Like, I would just leave even if there is a risk.
Again, if you lived in that area and you evacuated every time they told you to evacuate, you'd spend more time at hotels than you would at your house.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
So what is this? Is this like a messaging issue then? Like, would it be more? Would it be better to just? I don't know. If hurricanes change so quickly, it's kind of an impossible issue to fix, right? Because like they do have to warn people about every single hurricane because they can change on a dime, and we've seen that happen many times where a hurricane has just shifted its path slightly and then suddenly cataclysm happens. So you really do have to warn about every single one, right? There's no real fix there.
No, I don't think that there's anything necessarily wrong with the messaging system. I think like with the one that's getting ready to hit landfall in Florida. So it gets to a point where they flat out, they know it doesn't matter now if it goes north or if it goes south. There's a wide area that's going to be, it's going to see destruction, right? So if you're hanging out there at that point, when you know it's going to make landfall, you know it's not going to ride the coast, then then you're making a dumb decision. And to Jackson's point, what are you hoping to accomplish by staying? Just so after it's done, you can say, I stayed. Well, good job.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you didn't change anything by staying.
No, you didn't change anything. Like, if people look at our screen, we're watching I've had this running. It's a Hurricane Milton 2024 live stream from a channel, and in the top right, there's people at Key West, Florida, which is, I think, very much to the south, one of the safe places.
Yeah.
But I've been watching the stream all day, on and off, just alt-tabbing into it, and I swear to God, every 10 seconds, there's somebody taking a selfie. And even that to me is just too much. It's just not worth it. Like, why would I hang out there instead of just fucking off and hunkering down? And like sipping a cocoa somewhere safe.
Somewhere safe.
Instead of doing any of this.
People,
I don't really know where Key West is. Maybe they're safe, but
Yeah, I don't think they're in the path of the hurricane. I think the hurricane that is hitting Florida is pretty wide, but Key West is so far south that I don't think I don't think they're probably in like immense danger. I think these people are stupid because the people that we're looking at right now for the audience, audio listeners, it's a bunch of people like literally right on a boardwalk or something close to the ocean, and water is like giant waves are crashing over the road and splashing up over them while they're standing there taking selfies right on the border of it, which is like that's dangerous in of itself. Like the water can sweep you back into the ocean pretty easily. We've seen that happen many times, and I think people, for some reason, even though we keep seeing natural disasters occur and people be like Doug, be like forever changed by it, people still don't respect Mother Nature and still think that they could just play around with it. Basically, it's crazy to me. Like, we see evidence of it constantly.
That to your point, that's how I ended up in Kansas. When we had moved, we got a house in another house in North Carolina, and my wife just made it clear we're not living by the ocean anymore. Like that, we've got to get away from the ocean just because
it was
yeah. And then sequence of events, and I ended up having an opportunity to work in Kansas, which is about as far away as you can get from the ocean. And here I am.
Isn't Kansas like a tornado valley though as well?
Absolutely.
Great. Are you gonna be at Walmart one day again, just like scratching your head? Why is everybody running?
Why is everyone freaking out? What's up with this? Yeah, it seems like where is the safest place to live in America? Because you've got hurricanes in Florida, you've got like tornadoes and that kind of destruction pretty much everywhere in the center of America, I think, like that tornado valley. And then on the California side, you've obviously got fentanyl, which I don't think is a natural disaster, but that's still
it's right up there with tornadoes and earthquakes.
Yeah, as well as like earthquakes and stuff, right? You've got giant earthquakes and shit over there, like the big ones coming. They always say where the like all of California is going to split off from a giant earthquake. So you've got natural disasters of various kinds all across America. So where do you live that's safe?
Alaska.
In America. Alaska? But you got like avalanches and blizzards up there, I assume. We got nothing here. We got floods maybe, like flash floods maybe. But we don't get tsunamis, we don't get hurricanes. Every summer.
Don't they have like forest fires
never
and
mind.
shit?
Never mind. Yeah. I forgot the many times these last 3 years where the entire country was on fire. Yeah, never mind. I'll rescind that. We're fucked.
So I guess the US has those too, especially in California. Yeah, I don't know. At this point, from all of these stories that I'm hearing and from these past two hurricanes, I guess if I bought a house now, I would want it someplace elevated, and I guess not in a tornado zone, right? And not in the fentanyl zone.
Seems like it. Hey, the fentanyl's coming for you. It'll reach you eventually.
It can happen to anyone. Dude, that shit is... I was telling people before the show, who was I talking to? But anyway, like Doug saw it too, where, dude, California, it's just littered with fucking people passed out in the middle of the fucking streets. Like we were counting them at some point as we were walking. I don't know if Doug remembers, but it is wild.
No,
it actually is
I
like
remember.
a fucking natural disaster. It genuinely just looks like people that passed the fuck out
It's
from
a
like
force
hail
of nature.
falling on their heads.
When did fentanyl like hit the market? Like how recent is this? Because I feel like it's just popped up out of nowhere and I just constantly hear about it now.
The last 10 years, I think. I don't know. I mean, they're even modifying
So
it
it is fairly new.
Don't they call it trank now? They're mixing something into the fentanyl to make it even more deadly.
Okay, wait. Someone in chat said it's not a fucking drug people get, Jackson. It's a laced thing, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I don't know drugs. I don't do drugs.
So fentanyl it has medicinal purposes. And a small amount of it is toxic. But I think what he's talking about, which is what the issue is somebody buys cocaine thinking that they buy an 8-ball of cocaine and put a line down and they don't know there's fentanyl in it. Or they buy a pill that was pressed, say in Mexico. They look exactly the same as whatever it is, whatever pill it is you're wanting to buy.
Right. Okay.
And it's got fentanyl in it.
So it's something that other drugs are mixed in, and I assume like medicinal drugs as well. Then like you can. I mean, you'd have to probably not, but you'd be buying the medicine through, let's say, unreliable methods or whatever, for it to be laced with fentanyl. But it's not actually like a drug people directly take. It's like a byproduct, is what I'm getting.
So, like, if you were to, let's say hypothetically, I have used cocaine in the past. And if I wanted to buy cocaine and then try to sell some of it, I may use like baby formula or something. It's called stomping on it, trying to get more value out of what it is that I've got. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So fentanyl is kind of like the same thing. It'll give you a high, like a minuscule amount of it will give you a high and it'll fuck you up. The problem is if you've never done fentanyl, a minimal amount is fatal. So you have people that are pressing these pills trying to get more bang for their buck, essentially. And they're killing people because people are taking it not knowing that they're taking fentanyl. Most of the fentanyl overdoses are people who thought they were taking a fucking Xanax or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, that is crazy. Yeah.
There's your natural disaster. You should dump a bunch of fucking fentanyl into the hurricane. That would be fun.
Just see what happens.
Mm-hmm. I'm still for the idea to drop nukes into it like Trump suggested. He was trying to suggest that you
Just to
could
see
maybe
what
bust the
happens.
hurricanes that way, yeah, but I want to mutate them like the fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja tornadoes. Just create something magnificent, glowing green.
You want even more destruction. You want Doug's second house to blow up.
I would be absolutely devastated if my house in Kansas, if I lost it to a fucking hurricane. I would take that shit personally.
You have even more stuff
I
now
bet.
too. Oh, I was actually gonna mention you guys have like common interests now. Doug is also into. I think both of you are into those Lego engineering car thingies, right?
Yeah. You probably do like way more intricate ones than me. I've just been, so Doug, I've been getting into F1 recently. I don't know if you care about F1 and stuff, but it's really fun. And yeah, the first Lego set I've touched in 4 years, I just recently built a Mercedes F1 car. I think it's like Lego Technics. I didn't look too closely at the branding and stuff. But yeah, Kai said that you also build Lego cars and shit like that. So we can bond over that now.
All right. I will set up some time and we can talk about Legos. I did.
Great.
I did one of the roller coasters.
Oh yeah.
It's so fucking impressive when you're putting that shit together to think. Like the people that came up with it is what's impressive, right? They make it to where anybody can follow the picture directions and, you know, you feel accomplished when you're done. But if you're looking at it through that lens of the people that developed it, it is fucking fascinating.
Yeah, someone went through like this entire laborious effort of figuring out how each of these pieces actually fits together, and then they made it as digestible and easy to replicate that as possible. I don't understand how. Like you see it with like enthusiasts as well, like people who build off the plan basically, like they don't look at instruction booklets or whatever with Lego, and they just build whatever comes to their mind. And that's just not a skill I have. Like I would never be able to just build something if you give me a bunch of Lego bricks, right? I'm not sure if you feel the same or not, but I need those instruction books to actually make anything. So it's crazy to me that like people have that skill. It's just not something I possess.
I have a friend who he did that. He So he came up with his own design and had to buy several different kits. And then what the parts that he needed that he didn't have, he 3D printed them. But he ended up turning it in, the plans, and he created his own set of instructions, whatever, so they could replicate it. And he submitted it to Lego, and they bought the plan off of it. I can't tell you what it is.
Oh,
but
what the fuck? They do that?
Yeah, no, that's actually that they do that. I think it's like Lego Ideas or something under that branding, or something along those lines, where people can submit their ideas and have it be like mass produced by Lego. That's really cool. So your friend actually accomplished that.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's cool.
it's pretty
Have
it's
you
pretty
ever
neat.
tried that? You have a 3D printer
Who,
now.
me?
Yeah, you.
No, I couldn't do that.
I feel like you could. I couldn't. Like I said, I don't have that skill, but I feel like you'd be more handy than I would in terms of actually creating things.
No,
I like a CNC machine.
Who the fuck would buy that?
I don't know. That would be a very niche model, but it's worth a shot.
You could make a replica of your torn down hurricane house. Like, just add a Lego.
Lego
all the
waterlogged
brown
house.
pieces of Lego. Yeah, it's full of like just Lego shrapnel in there as well. Torn apart.
If you had to guess, how much more shit do you have now that you could lose? Like twice as much stuff or 3 times as much?
Probably, I would say probably 2 to 3 times more stuff.
Oof, that would suck.
I could see you going like multiple ways after going through a hurricane like that and losing everything. I could see you going the direction of, like hoarding everything and trying to keep a hold of it, as much as possible. But I could also see people going the opposite direction and saying like, there's no point in keeping stuff anymore. Let's like Kaya's route of living life of like minimalism above everything else. Just keep things light so that when it is eventually lost or whatever, it's not as impactful.
No, I've gone down the Doug route lately. That was my bachelor life, the minimalism, where I didn't own anything basically, and I just lived on a fucking laptop and did the show on it. But now I also have amassed a bunch of shit that I would be sad to lose in a fentanyl tornado.
Like what?
I don't know, just a shit ton of electronics. I mean, the sentimental stuff alone. I like right now at my desk, I'm staring at 3D printed shit that Doug gave me.
Oh, God, you guys.
Can you guys?
You guys are so cute.
It's the sheep from Worms. My wife was planning on painting these with like Warhammer paints or whatever it is that you use. But yeah, it's a bunch of shit that you would be sad, to have to leave behind, and annoying, even if it's like, like a TV costs you $7.50 at Walmart these days. But it is still annoying to have to lose all your shit, like you said, because it is stuff that you had to earn and spend time of your life getting.
Yeah.
So it would piss me off.
So it's not so much losing the TV. If you had a hurricane and the only thing you lost is your TV, yeah, you'll be all right. You're going to make it through it. It's the forks and the spoons and the silverware trays and the garbage cans and the this and the that. Back to part of the story that I forgot. I walked into the house, and in all of the madness, I looked down and I realized that Maddie, which was our dog, like I had said, I had left the water bowl and the food bowl on the floor because I couldn't get myself to throw it away. It was gone. It had got picked up and floated somewhere, but I looked down and it was gone. And it was like, that's when I decided to start mourning Maddie, was right there in that moment, because the dog bowl was gone, which means she was gone. And then that coupled with the corpse water and the shit on the walls and the mold and the heat and everything else. I assume there was probably fentanyl.
Yeah, true. In a way, the hurricane helped you grieve and start making healthy progress on that. So really, you should be thankful. You should be thankful, Doug, to the hurricane.
Maybe Maddie sent the hurricane so you could move on.
Yeah. He's like, this guy's not moving on. We got to send the hurricane.
From the beyond.
Send the hurricane. That'll give him the message.
I don't know if Doug, you like grabbed all of this stuff, but what I just realized that I would be the most pissed off to lose if I did forget it would be all of my documentation, like paperwork. Just all the bureaucratic bullshit that you amass getting in the mail. Especially now here in the US with my like passports, just immigration stuff, like birth certificates, because it's the sort of stuff where like, 5 years down the line, you're going to be applying for anything, whatever the fuck. And someone's going to be like, yeah, we're going to need to see birth certificates that's certified from 28 years ago. And you're going to go, fuck, that got swept away or stolen or burned. that's the sort of stuff that annoys the shit out of me.
That shit can be replaced. It'll take time. It'll definitely take time, especially like dealing with the government and reissuing them and stuff. It'll take time. But the things that I would absolutely be just completely heartbroken about losing in this situation is definitely like family photos and things that can't be replaced like that. When I was growing up, probably when I was like 13, 14, we had some pretty bad flooding. And my parents were irresponsible about it. They didn't really like store stuff in the best way. It wasn't like we didn't get hit with bad flooding. It was like only our basement level, kind of like our under our garage kind of thing flooded. But that's where all of our family photos were stored, and there was so much damage to them that we lost so many family photos. And I would kill to have them right now, just like from my childhood and like my grandparents and stuff like that.
That's why. I mean, I back up all of my shit. I digitize everything. That's why I have like several. I follow the 3-2-1 rule of backups, where like you have 3 total copies of something, where like 3 total copies. You have 2 different mediums of storage, like an external drive, 2 of them, and then one of them you keep in somewhere far away from yourself. So I have like a hard drive where I keep all of my docs and family photos, and I have an identical drive that my mother-in-law keeps where she lives in a different state. So even if you nuked my fucking apartment right now, I would still have access to all of my shit. Because that is how traumatized I am from dead-eyed, fish-eyed fucking subhuman clerks staring at me and asking me for fucking documentation from 20 years ago. I am so radicalized by this bullshit now.
So I was going to interrupt you, but you were so good at what you just did. I thought you were going into an ad read. That's what I thought was happening until you started talking about the dead-eyed clerks. I want to share a story that's relative. I think it's funny. You were talking about the docs and documents and saving your documents, all that. We did do that. We, like I said, we gathered up all our pictures and we each had a box, that whole thing again. But it was probably 8 months ago, I think. I had to go into the DMV in Kansas, and I needed 2 forms of ID. So, whatever, I needed 2 forms of ID. So one of the forms of ID that I used was my Social Security card. And if you were to look at it, it is as destroyed as a piece of paper could be. You know, I've had it my entire life. It's obviously been underwater. It's yellow. It's torn up. The edges are all everything. So I give it to her and she looks at it and she's sitting there holding it. And, you know, you could tell like she's concerned. Well, were you recently like swimming? What's, you know, just because it's so obviously destroyed. And I said, well, we had an issue in North Carolina. We went through Hurricane Florence, lost most of everything. And she said, oh, I understand. I'm sorry to hear that whole thing, whatever. In reality, Kaya, you know that I was a raging alcoholic. I spent a solid 20 years of my life drunk as I could get every single night. And I had a habit of drinking myself blackout drunk and then pissing myself. So I pissed my pants so many fucking times that my wallet would get piss logged. And the only thing that I would save out of it is my Social Security card. And then I'd throw the wallet away and move on to the next wallet. So
you never get a Social Security card. It's just like
get it laminated.
Was it just baked in piss? Yeah. What? So it was baked in piss, basically. That
it was 100% baked in piss.
Wow.
Do you still have the same card?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, I said you should do like a DNA swab on it and see what comes back. He was asking how hard it is to replace, and the answer is it is tedious. You have to like send it in and everything, so he would have to go through the same process of what the fuck happened to this.
I mean, but come on, he's hoarding around a piss-stained piece of paper.
There's a lot of memories in that piss, Jackson.
Yeah, true. Well, no, there isn't. You were blackout the entire time by the sounds of it. There's no memories in it. It's just piss. So when did you stop drinking, or are you still an alcoholic and I'm just being insensitive?
Oh, no, I stopped drinking, I want to say right around 2016, 2017, somewhere in that neighborhood.
So you got sober just before your life got destroyed by the hurricane. Oh man, I bet you wish you were drinking then.
So, you know what?
Ooh.
Maybe I did. So I know at one point, I used to have a bottle of whiskey that I kept on my counter. And it was kind of a reminder to me to not go down that path again. It made me feel better knowing it was there. And I know that I had a shot out of that hurricane time. So 2018 is, I guess, when I'll say that I quit drinking.
Yeah, so it actually did break you then.
How do you stop at one shot? That's like, that is an odd choice to make. Like, if you're gonna fall off the wagon, you'd think that you would take more shots, especially in a situation like that.
Well, he probably felt like he betrayed
disappointed in
himself.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I would assume
No, I
so.
don't think so. It's hard to put myself back in the mindset that I was in that moment, but I think it was more of a, you deserve this. I think that's probably where I was at. It wasn't,
Right.
I'm going back to getting fucked up again. It was, I'm spent. I'm emotionally destroyed. I'm going to have some whiskey.
Just lying in a puddle of glitter and shit. Just passed out.
Yeah. Losing everything is worth exactly one whiskey shot. That's how much you're owed for it. No, I'm joking. People are going to give me shit for this, for being insensitive to you. It's obviously good that you are not an alcoholic anymore. I mean, that's like one of the most impressive things a person can do in my eyes, because I've seen people try to, beat an addiction to alcohol. I'm not trying to glaze you up here, but it is something that is actually like pretty serious to me, because I've seen alcoholism run so rampantly in my family and people fail to, beat it. So how did you actually do it so that I can tell people in my family that it's possible? Please, Doug, help me.
I got tired of buying new wallets, Jackson.
Yeah, I don't think that's an issue in my family. Yeah. There has to be. I wish there was a miracle drug. I wish there was a miracle drug that like stopped alcoholism. Imagine.
Well, I was joking, but apparently Ozempic does do that. It helps with all sorts of cravings, not just food, but but rather like compulsive behavior in general. And I don't know if you guys saw this today. I put this in my private friend chat, so I don't know if Doug saw it. But according to the New York Post, new exercise pill mimics the effects of running a 10K without effort. And if you read the article, apparently this, what was it, Denmark. The Danish are working on this pill where you can just laze around on the couch and pop this pill, and it somehow stimulates your heart the same way that running a 10K marathon does, with all the like ketosis and everything, according to them.
Sounds like a quick way to give yourself a heart attack.
I don't know. We'll see. I feel like at some point, science does have to crack the code, right? Like, if not in our lifetime, then like 1,000 years from now, there's gotta be perfect cheating drugs, right?
Didn't science crack the code when they figured out that if you took in less calories than what you burn, that you fucking lose weight?
Yeah, science didn't crack the code good enough, is what he means.
Yeah.
They didn't make it
without
didn't crack
any
it to
effort.
Satisfaction.
Yeah, where you can just still sit on the couch and munch chips and have a six-pack and shit. It's gotta be
Kaya just wants to take a pill and
3000s.
immediately get ripped. Like a transformation pill. You just take the pill and it fucking balloons out your body to like perfect Adonis characteristics. Just gives you six-pack abs, giant biceps, big cock, hairy head, everything.
Hey,
and then we all end up looking the same, I guess. No, because in that world where everyone's taking the pill and getting these big cocks, the most attractive people are going to be the guys with the small cocks now. It's going to shift.
And the
window is going to shift to those of us with the small cocks. We're going to be the heroes.
Yeah, there was a time in history. There was a time in history where the more weight you had, the fatter you were, the more attractive you were to the opposite sex.
Yeah, because it was a sign that you obviously you ate well. You had stuff. Clearly,
that's like in very poor areas, I think, though. I think that's still a thing if you're like in a very poor tribe.
No. What are you talking about? Tribe? What? No, we're talking about like, ancient Greek times.
Yeah, but like morbidly, whenever people say that, it's like it usually comes out of the mouth of like a very bitter health at every size activist who's like 500 pounds. I guess plump women may have been considered somewhat noble in some periods of time, but like today's Americans, I don't think we're talking about the same body shape here with like the cellulite hanging off of every limb, It's like, oh, well, back in the day, people would have found Tammy Slayton like a goddess. Well, not really.
Yeah, no, probably not. It was like, I don't think they would have been able to get that fat back then, probably, right? It would have been pretty impossible with the foods they were eating.
I have a question. Doug, you said that the gastric bypass, you wouldn't get it because it's like cheating. But would you pop a pill? Just a pill?
No, I don't think I would. I don't really take any medicine for anything. I'm fucked up in the head. That's probably a whole nother episode, but I have to assume that whatever side effects that's going on in your body to get that end result is doing more damage than just being fat.
Well, that's what I think too, but maybe, don't you think maybe we're just coping? What if Ozempic really is just a perfect miracle drug? What if they don't get cancer?
Yeah, if there's no side effects.
Yeah, and we're all missing out because we're just being stubborn.
I don't care if anybody else does it. I just won't do it. Like, okay, so have you seen people that's got that gastric bypass surgery?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they all have the same body. They all have the same body where their waist gets small and their top gets small, but they still got really big thighs. Like everything from where the incision was down stayed fat and everything else got skinny. Like, I don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want big fat thighs and then a skinny waist. That looks stupid.
Yeah, I mean, it will be, I guess, technically cheating. It is stolen valor, as opposed to all of these runners here, the posers.
Yeah, but who cares? Like, when it comes to like getting healthy, more power to the people, in my opinion. Like, if it means like you're not at risk of dying from a heart attack at any given moment of walking anywhere, then yeah, take the pill, get skinny. My issue with it is, and I don't think this is in the case of Ozempic, because you just keep taking the pill by the sounds of it. But in terms of gastric bypass, like Kaya said, most of the people who do gastric bypass surgery gain the weight back because they haven't changed their underlying habits and their mental health issues that have caused them to gain the weight in the first place. So they just gain it back, right? So that's my issue with it.
So here's, I don't know how much time you want to spend on this, but what I think is, like, there needs to be a mass retraining of society. Right, like right now, the way that I was raised is the food pyramid, which is all bullshit, and food is a reward for doing something good, or your mom puts something on your plate, you stay and you eat it, whether or not you're hungry. There needs to be a mass retraining on society that food is a fuel source, not a treat or a prize or a reward. And to Jackson's point, somebody goes and gets surgery, they're not. That's fine. Like, get surgery, whatever. I'm choosing not to. I'm staying fat. But if
you're a fat lifer, you're going to be fat forever. You've resigned yourself to it.
Yeah, I mean, what are we talking about? Another 5-6 years? It's fine.
It's a survival strategy, so you stay weighed down when the next hurricane comes. You won't be picked on.
Actually, you are dead wrong. You are dead wrong in that.
Oh no!
When you are morbidly obese, you float. Like, it is. I used to swim a lot when I was skinny, when I was in shape, and do handstands in the pool and all that shit. It is impossible for me to do a handstand now. I turn upside down and then I just float like a bobber.
Well, that might be good for the flood conditions.
In order to do a handstand, I've got to try to dive underwater and keep kicking my feet just to put downward force to keep my hands on the bottom of the pool.
Well,
No. Well, they can usually use like a flotation device at least next time you're floating. Put all the 5 dogs on you.
What were you saying before I interrupted you then, Doug?
If I'm ever in a Titanic situation, Jack can just climb on me. We'll all be fine. That movie would have been so much different.
You should
if I
use
was
a makeshift raft. I was when we were setting up the podcast earlier, and you guys were doing your show, Doug, with Anthony, the Who's Right podcast. We were watching you for a little bit, and I didn't know that you were fat. You don't look fat from like the chest up, really. Yeah, you look fine to me, Doug. I don't know,
Jackson. That's the joke, man.
You hide it well. Oh wait, what? What's the joke? You're not fat?
I'm fatter than Kaya, but I mean, there's a picture out there when I went to marry Kaya or officiate his wedding, whatever. I'm okay. I'm fatter than both of you. Don't try to take that away from me. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Wait, yeah, no, I'm looking at this photo now. Kai, you've oversold this. You said he was fat. He's like normal. What are you talking about? He's not like...
He calls himself fat. I didn't say he's fat. I mean, he is, but, not... I guess we're talking about American standards. Fine.
Yeah, he's like... He's not fat.
Curvy.
What the fuck? I've been living a lie.
I'm girthy.
Yeah, whatever.
People call me fat in that photo. People have been calling me fat also ever since I splashed Boogie in the face with that water balloon. So I need to be fasting a little. I think America's starting to get to me with all the extra food here. I got too comfortable.
Alrighty, guys. I have a meeting to run to. Let's wrap this up right now. I want to say a big thank you, Doug, for joining us to talk about hurricanes. Really appreciate you sharing your story with us.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me back on.
Yeah, tell us where people can find you.
I think the only thing I want to plug, and I'm going to reference an earlier part of the conversation where you're talking about the earthquake knocking California off the map. That's how we got our name of our candy company, me and Anthony, the ArizonaBayCandy.com. That's in reference to California falling into the ocean.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, I've tried his candy. It is I like it. It's freeze-dried candy. My favorite are the M&Ms still. My wife likes the pink ones, I think. They were either pink or blue. I forget what the fuck those were. Or what you made them from.
What's this? What's the company called, Doug?
ArizonaBayCandy.com.
ArizonaBakeCandy.com. Okay, we'll put it in the description. People can find it below if you want to go try Doug's candy. Yeah, go check that out. And also, of course, Who's Right, the podcast series that's been running since forever, apparently. 2016, you started, you said?
2017, yep.
2017, yep. So go check them out. They do great podcast episodes over there. People from our audience absolutely love you, Doug. They love your show. Everyone that's gone over there and checked out your show has loved it. We hear about it constantly. You are one of our most requested repeat guests. So you're a big hit over here with the people. So thank you for coming on. Really do appreciate it. Go check him out. There'll be links below to his candy company as well as his show. Big thank you. Kai, do you want to do the outro this time?
Our stuff can be found at patreon.com/theofficialpodcast. We are uploading our bonuses, Criminally Stupid, Red Thread, all of the good stuff. And this show, of course, with early access and without ads and all of that. So you get a nice clean feed. And we're going to keep doing that. Soon with a new website. I don't know how far along we are with that, but eventually we're also going to have new merch. So fun stuff is coming. Hopefully everybody's going to enjoy. Yeah, thanks. I mean, that's it, right? Did I forget anything?
Yeah, that's everything. Thank you. No, that's good. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for another episode. We'll see you next time. I hope that everyone in the path of hurricane, whatever it's called, Milton. By the way, fucking nerdy name to give this hurricane that's apparently going to demolish Florida. Worst name ever to give a hurricane. Yeah,
good luck,
for anyone
everyone.
that's affected by that, wish you the best. Hope you guys make it through without succumbing to the effects like Doug did. Hopefully you fare better than Doug did during his hurricane event. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.